workshops for the budget. So I'd like to call this meeting to order at 1:07 p.m. If you would stand for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for another day in the land of the living and to serve the town in decency and in order with wisdom. And we just thank you to be in the middle of it all. In his name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Pro Tem Everline,
Here.
Councilor Arnold,
Present.
Councilor Lanneman,
Present.
Councilor Miles,
Here.
Mayor Wells.
Here.
We have a quorum.
It does say on the agenda, any agenda approval. I mean, we're only here for one purpose. So can I just have a motion, a second, to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. At this moment, I'll open up public comment. If any person wishing to address the mayor and council on an item that's not on today's agenda, come to the podium, give us your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Seeing none, I'll close. There's nobody online, I guess. I'll close public comment and we will get into the first item and only item, which is discussion on the fiscal year town budget.
Based on the decision we made last night on the library, on page 1 of the general fund budget, it shows library expansion impact fee funds as a $200,000 revenue. And that I think should be struck from the budget. I went through the general fund looking for the $200,000 expenditure and I don't find it anymore.
It's in 571.
$571.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sean, isn't this workshop, aren't we supposed to talk about cost cutting?
So just as a point of clarification, and we did review this, that doesn't actually take effect until after January 1st. So that would be in the subsequent.
Well, then that was kind of crazy for him to make us come here 3 times if that's not one of them.
We did have things to review in a third workshop.
We should remove from 571 line 340, reduce it from 212 to 12,000.
I agree. Well, hopefully, other than a few things that have just carried over from the previous meeting, Tim, we've got water and wastewater to do, and hopefully we should be able to get through them pretty quickly. So is that 10% exercise is?
It is not currently required.
I thought it would have been a good exercise myself.
But to project where we would cut 10% out of the budget?
Well, what I think, David, is just my opinion, is given
what's going to be on the referendum in November, I think we need to begin looking at areas that maybe where we could cut a little bit, because gosh knows if this thing gets passed, our next budget, we're going to have to find some huge cuts. And I just thought it would have been a useful exercise. I didn't realize that it wasn't until,
It doesn't take effect
January.
until next year.
right, that's what I just said, the next
I
budget.
mean, next fiscal year.
Yeah, that's what I
Not the
said.
Fiscal year we're
Correct.
budgeting, but the following.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah, if it does pass, we are looking, at least my calculations, a little over $500,000. We of course had a good year last year where we added 660,000 to the reserves, if you call them reserves. They're not really reserves, but to the fund balances in the general fund. So I think we're in better shape, but you're right from the point of view that going forward, it's going to be a challenge. Now, the other thing that I can tell you is that according to Taylor Yokoski, is that if this thing passes, the first thing that they are going to do is to go into a special session because they know what they're going to do to the municipalities. And they're not going to do it before it passes, because if it fails, it's not relevant. But if it does pass, they're going into a special session to discuss what they're going to do to make up the massive shortfalls in the counties and the municipalities. I don't know what that's going to be. I think the worst of this, from my point of view, is the effect that it has on home rule, because then you're going to be going cap in hand. A lot of the cities, not necessarily us, but a lot of the cities, going to be going cap in hand to including the county, to Tallahassee to get the funding. And therefore that takes all of the fiscal control away from the municipalities. And all you're going to have is a bunch of not even probably elected people, but a bunch of bureaucrats that are going to be in a position where they divvy out the money and say, you can have this and you can't have that. I think it's a recipe for disaster for towns. We are in a much better position than most because of the fact we have such a lot of new construction coming, assuming that that is not affected, whereby a lot of those are going to be paying more in ad valorem taxes. And of course, we will eventually get the benefit of Publix, the 7-Eleven, and other commercial stuff that's coming through. Some of them don't have all that stuff. So we will have to wait and see. That's why when we were looking at this, particularly with regards to the millage rate, we're planning to reduce ours, bless you, by a quarter, as opposed to a Popka who raising theirs by 10%.
This year, and I'll have another one next year.
Yeah. In order to do it. Well, they won't be able to do that next year because, of course, you can only raise it 10% of the rollback rate. But anyway, so I believe that what we have to do is we go forward with this year as if it's going to fail, but keeping an eye on the long-term situation that if it passes, we're going to be having more difficult conversations next year. Before we get on to water and wastewater.
one other just quick question. Didn't you ask that the carry forward be shown? Didn't you ask that last meeting?
Yeah, we don't have that in here. The carry forward of the.
You remember you asked that for each account?
That would be.
Yeah, it would be helpful. Yeah,
It shows the beginning balance plus revenue.
Yeah.
Minus expenditures, proposed ending balance.
So we will continue to work on that. That was not able to be added into this packet.
But we're able to see in the budget, if you look at the expenditure side, you can see in the general fund at least, because unfortunately all of the others,
I saw that.
that has a figure in it. Some of the other funds do, but in the main case, if you're making it balance, which you have to do between revenues, then effectively you're going to have the same figure at the beginning and the same figure at the end. But we can get to that.
So before because you want to jump into wastewater and
No, I don't want to jump into wastewater. I've got a couple of items that I had sent to you.
Okay.
I sent to Oscar and I sent to Morgan that I want to address so those can be adjusted in the budget if council so desires. So, and I don't believe that, well, I haven't checked. Let me just go back to where I was. Um, on the infrastructure fund, where you have the 228,882. Show the bigger screen. It was shown on that as just being for roads of North Valencia to repave that road. And that should also include a portion of that 32,000, whatever it is, for the remaining finger pier to be done in next year as well.
It's in there.
well, it says North Valencia in the detail.
Page 7. Fund balance proposed for 2027, $32,000.
You're saying on page,
Well, it's on page 7 of mine.
It's on 7.
He's saying that he's bringing, yeah, on page 7, it shows a bringing forward use of fund balance of 32K, which is the cost. In addition to the.
yeah, I understand that, but when you go to the expenditure side where it's outlined what you're going to spend that money on, it shows the entirety of that as being
Capital outlay improvements.
yes, and it's down as just
Yeah.
roads.
Okay.
I was going to suggest that for future budgeting, that you put a project, assign every line a project number in those funds.
We have projects.
Okay, but they're not shown on
Yeah,
this sheet
they're not
here.
like-
They're not on the budget sheets, that they be listed on, rather than just having one grand total capital outlay line, let's spell out what it's for.
That may not be a bad idea. It helps
sure.
us to keep up with the projects. Is that easy for staff? Or no?
It's straightforward enough. Yeah.
It helps with invoicing.
Hmm.
Okay, so can I just ask, as the finance manager is not here, which is kind of an unusual situation considering it's a budget. So who is going to take the necessary notes to get him to make the changes? Okay, so on that, on page, again, 37, way further down, you have got the infrastructure where it's laid out what is going to be spent. And it shows on there that in 630 capital outlay, the 228,882 is just for North Valencia. What's the cost of the finger piers?
32.
So I would suggest that you take 32,000 off of that and put it as a separate line so it shows the lesser value for Valencia and also as the finger pier in for 32,000. I'm assuming that the net value, Morgan, which is going to be 196, 198,000, whatever it is sufficient to do Valencia? Or you don't know?
Yeah, I don't know right at this point, but I would say no, right off the top of my head, because the cost of that road come in a lot more than $192,000.
Well, when we discussed it, there was definitely the amount of money to be able to do it.
Yeah, no problem.
Huh? We had
That's what I'm
enough
saying.
money.
We had enough, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, then just add it to the line then. So put North Valencia Street and Finger Pier. At least then that way it's shown in there so that if somebody questions it, you know, in a future time. The other thing is on Fund 152, which is the transportation fund. On the expenditures, we have showing on there for other contractual services, $41,000 for sidewalks. Are we planning to spend 41,000 on sidewalks, or is that just the net of the expenditures, the kind of catch-all figure in there, or what is it supposed to be for? Because other contract,
Where you were. This.
On
38,
page 38.
38.
What was the answer to his question?
He didn't answer.
Morgan's finding
that. I had half were $60,000.
So that is specifically for sidewalks.
Right.
So if you want to buy, if you have to get striping done, signs, all that kind of stuff, whereabouts is that in the budget?
Well, the sidewalk would come out of the sidewalk, the other would come out of either other contractual services under public services or transportation.
But the only other contractual services just shows for sidewalks. And I guess any signage would come out of operating supplies potentially. So do you think we should just add another narrative to that from sidewalks?
A lot of the sidewalks that we're planning on doing, they don't have a plan. There's no need for signage. Not like when we added this additional sidewalk on Lake Shore and Central, we had to add that ramp, so we had to add the striping for the crosswalk and things of that nature. But ones we're planning on doing are all in the north, like East Laurel and things of that nature. There may be 2 crosswalks that we have to.
Gotcha.
But where those sidewalks cross, you really can't put a delineated crosswalk lines because they cross right at the stop bar of the stop sign. You'd have to put the stop sign back, which then the person at the stop bar couldn't see who was coming down the road.
Okay.
Morgan, are you planning on doing any new sidewalks, or is this just repair of
A
existing
little of
ones?
both. There's spots on East Laurel where the sidewalk goes and then it just stops. So I want to try, as I'm doing these sidewalks and we're making repairs, I want to try to extend them so people can actually get somewhere when they're walking on them. Instead of just walking to a dead end and turn around, and go back.
On the $5,000 that we were giving for the fire truck, is that still in this budget, or did it get taken out of the budget? Because of the fact that we had said that it should come out of this year, not next year.
And I spoke to Michelle Purser about it. She was supposed to talk to Peggy about it.
Because that had been under legislative
Legislative, as a-
donations.
Yes.
So that is,
It's still in this year's budget. We haven't,
but not in
we
the,
hadn't decided to roll it forward yet because we don't know what.
Right. yeah, so that's a 0 line, it looks like in the,
Yeah, because it was one point,
it was.
so it's now come out.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I have a question, so a point of clarification. So for the sidewalks, are we changing the budget to 60,000?
There isn't any other money
Just
to,
wanted to be clear.
to be doing that.
So the money for the fire engine's still in this year's, but it's been taken out.
Of the, it's not being carried forward
Forward.
into the next year.
Right. That
Correct.
it shouldn't be. Then one of the things that I came up with, you look at 519.
Which fund?
In the general fund, I'll give you the page. If you look at page 20. You look at page 20, under 340. There are two items in there. One is, sorry if you can't hear me, it's difficult for me to look at that and keep on the microphone. But you got 14,000 for a boundary survey, which I believe was in last year's budget, which was done. And Oscar has just simply put the same thing into this year's budget, which I don't believe is necessary. And the same thing applies to the line underneath it, which is for road work. Typically, road work should come out of the transportation fund because that's what we get the money for. And again, that was simply something that was in last year that's been brought forward. And my recommendation is that 34,000 should be taken out of 519 and added to the general fund carry forward figure.
And just to clarify, because I think it certainly, as a descriptor line, was accidentally copied and pasted from a previous year. But in looking at that 340 line under 519, the current budgeted amount is 80,000 versus this year's budgeted amount of 90,000 with a projected expenditure of 81,000. So even if the projects were erroneously copied and pasted, I don't know that that necessarily means that those funds aren't required for projects, Morgan, or?
Yeah, I wouldn't say take them out, especially, I mean, I talked to Oscar about this after me and the mayor talked about it. And Oscar said, as doing these justification lines, he just seen what we had spent last year. Now, if he pulled it out of boundary survey, because that's what we spent, I guess we spent $14,000 on a lot of survey work for the, North Central. The road work was other road work, Lake Shore. But I wouldn't say pull it all out, because we have to do more boundary surveys this year for other road work and for the property that were purchased on South Dixie, I mean, North Florida, South Dixie, South Florida. So we're still gonna need boundary survey money. I don't know if we need $14,000, but I don't know what it's going to cost to do all that. They're surveying for that property,
No,
for
and
that stormwater project.
we're reducing the budgeted amount by about 10%.
What I did throughout my entire budget as an exercise for the 10% that John was talking about, I went through my.
Oh, you did the exercise.
I
Good
did.
for you.
Through my entire budget where I could.
Okay, I just don't like it where we take a budget from last year and irrespective of what we spend, we put that same budget into this year just because we can. It needs to be done.
Well,
On a
just
more
to
technical
clarify, I
basis.
mean, we are projected this year to spend $81,346 in that category in public services, so 80,000 isn't extremely far off. I mean,
Well, they're just my observations, Sean. It's down to the council whether they agree or not agree, and that's fine by me either way. But I went through this with a fine tooth comb, and that was some of the things that I brought out that I wanted to discuss. So the council can do as the council wishes.
did you have other things on your list that you wanted to?
I believe I did. I'm just looking. one of the things one of the things that I sent to you,
Police chief.
yeah, well, one of the things was with regards to getting Oscar and Kim's title corrected throughout the budget and in future agendas. But also the one thing that I did notice is that in the executive salaries for 521 for the PD, we do not have a police chief at this moment in time, and we are currently in the budget for a salary of $89,500, and I'm fairly certain that you're not going to find a police chief for that amount of money. So are we under budgeting that line item? Because I know that David had brought this up at one of the prior meetings. What we don't want to do is, I mean, I don't know what you're advertising this job for.
I can tell you a little bit about that. So when we did the advertisement, at that particular moment in time, council had decided on a general 6% increase, which would put that position at 95,000, 94 and change, let's say, close to 95. So that position was posted, advertised at 85 to 95 as a range. That would also put that police chief in the same ballpark as our public services director and our town clerk as department head. Since all those positions were already at the same level, and a 6% increase would raise them equally. So I'm not sure if you're saying to restore the 6%, even though we said we didn't want to offer that to anyone that wasn't already hired, or if you're saying you wanted to go above and beyond even the 6%.
Well, what I'm saying is if you're advertising it from 85 to 95,000, then I would have, you don't want to get into a situation where you're hiring somebody and then, you're doing budget amendments and what have you. I think if, whatever we're going to put in there needs to be a little more realistic, because it doesn't even have the 6% in it, let alone what you might have to go on. It's again, it's just my observations. You can raise it, you can leave it as it is. I'm just bringing it up.
Well, that was based on your particular feedback on the.
I provide you some feedback back when you did the advertisement, before you did the advertisement, suggesting that you advertise the total budget, pay and benefits as a single number. Did you do that?
The total, you wanted us to show what we had
Well,
paid the
not-
previous
What
police chiefs.
if you took his base pay and added all of his fringes, it came up to like 140. That you put that number in there in the advertisement, because that would be part of the negotiations with him or her, as the case may be. And it might attract a better quality of individual by doing it in that particular fashion, rather than just advertising it from 85 to 95, which is just slightly more than many departments pay their base patrolmen, particularly in up north. I don't know, New York City, I bet they pay their street cops, the guy that walks up and down the street, $95,000.
It's 100,000.
Yeah,
But when we posted on the Florida Police Chiefs Association or Indeed or wherever else, it's, it has places for annual salary range and other sections for additional benefits and things like that. And so if we're saying, oh, look, we pay 142 and a half, I mean, the system's not set up to portray it in that way. They want the actual annual salary in a field, and they
Well,
want benefits in a different field.
You've cut your hiring flexibility, and you've probably reduced the number of good quality people that are gonna apply by about 90%.
I would say
The way
so,
you
but
did it.
in reality, though, I mean, our police chief position pays less than sergeant with the Lake County Sheriff's Office. I mean, that's the local
Okay,
market realities.
What did you put in for health insurance? Did you put in the maximum is if he had a family? Is that what's in the budget?
I believe in general, Oscar picked the mid-range, knowing that it would average out if someone went low or someone went high, considering 2/3 of people pick the low, right? 20% pick the mid plan and 10% pick the high plan. So if he has an open position, he was using the mid as a placeholder, which gives a little
Yeah.
leeway.
let's take your position, for example.
Let's take it.
Where do you want to put it?
You get paid 127,000 a year.
122.
Yeah.
122,000 a year. But it costs us 180,000 a year. That's what we budget for your position. Okay? Because there are roughly $60,000 in fringe benefits that we pay also for you,
Mhm.
to include your health insurance package. That's a fairly nice amount of money to be paying to an individual. Now, if we advertised your job at maximum 122,000, would we get the same caliber of individual if we said a pay and benefit package up to 180,000?
In terms of the applications, I always thought it would make more people look.
That's
Well, I think it
correct.
would make more people look, but then they would ask the questions of how does
Sure,
that
they
break
will.
down?
How many people have you currently had applications through for this position?
We've had a 15 maybe. Yeah. Now, I will say, Mr. Brock and I have not gone through the applications. I know in a surface glance, a lot of them are retirees. But I mean, that's just
people that are everything from police captains at Windermere or City of Orlando. I have an ex-FBI agent. I have police chiefs or former police chiefs from up north that are looking to move down here. There are a multitude of good candidates.
so we do have some candidates. I mean, to your point, Counselor Miles, would the pool be bigger if you offered more? But I don't know. It's a little disingenuous to say, oh, look, we pay 180, but then when you look at it, it's less than that.
But if you end up
Right.
getting what we believe is the right candidate, the likelihood is if they're the right candidate, you're going to probably pay them the higher end of the scale. So wouldn't it be prudent to put that higher end of the scale into the budget?
Okay, but just to be clear, we put the corrected number on your recommendation. So if we're changing that for this one position to put that at the 6% higher, so it's comparable to the town clerk and the public services director at about the 95,000 range. So we're doing an exception to the newly hired people don't get that 6% increase in the current budgeted salaries. I am fine with that. I just want to make sure
But
that's what we're doing.
to that point, and we're getting kind of into the weeds here a little bit, but on the basis of that, why did you put in the salary range up to 95,000 if you're only going to pay 90,000?
Okay, so when we did the posting at that,
45 days ago.
that was right. 45 days ago, council said 6%. 6% is what we're doing, and that's what we can do. And we punched in 6%, and that put it at 95. And we did the range 85 to 95 to give a little bit of a range. But at that moment in time, we had a general consensus that 6% across the board was the plan. So that's why that was advertised as such.
Well, I think also, certainly in my mind, when we were talking about no raises, we were talking about no raises for existing staff who had not been here for 6 months. It wasn't necessarily from a recruitment point of view in my mind.
That's true.
Well, no, because we talked about the open positions and said it wouldn't apply to anyone who had not already been hired, which at that point included a couple positions, but so you want to give the 6% to people who are going to be hired before the end of the fiscal
No,
year and
I'm,
not
I'm talking about this one
exception.
particular
Okay.
exception. Because I think first and foremost, it's a director position and we need to recruit the right person. And if you're advertising it, albeit you did it before we made the other decisions, and you're advertising up to 95,000, then I think it's prudent to put it in the budget for 95,000. And even if you put it in at 95,000, it's still not as much as the other two directors are in the budget for.
Also, keep in mind that if you actually hire someone for the police chief that is retiring from another department, especially from up north, they'll usually come down with their own healthcare package because it carries us into retirement for the rest of our life.
Anyway,
So we can add in the
You- you
6%.
Foreclosed your flexibility of negotiating with the individual, and you may have foreclosed getting some really top-notch candidates to apply. Remember our discussion about the difference between book smart and street smart? Think about that.
There's a big difference.
There's a big difference.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up because when I would negotiate with Booz Allen and DSA later on, I never had to take their health plan. So as a result, they took the amount of money that they were gonna put in my health plan
Mm-hmm.
and they dumped it in my salary.
Their salary.
Yeah,
And it actually, they appreciated that even more because that's less people on their healthcare plan. So yes, I might have been applying for a job at 125K, but because I'm not taking the healthcare plan, they were bumping up to 135.
Yeah, I think people look at total package. That's what they look at.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly. I think you have foreshortened your
yeah, we might
list
have,
of really good quality candidates a bit by doing that, but it's water over the dam right now.
it's water under the bridge as well. And so anyway, what does council think? Do they want to leave this at 89,000 and change, or do you want to add it into the budget so that it's in there for the 95?
The amounts that you mentioned in the public works area, why don't we take half of that amount and move it over
Well,
into this line?
we don't need to do that because we already have a carry forward figure into next
That's
year. So
true.
it will just reduce that carry forward figure. I don't want to be robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's not
Let me suggest that you raise that from 89,000 to 115,000.
Okay?
I don't see
So
the
you
need
wanna-
to do
But
that.
why would we do
Yeah,
that?
why
To
would you
go all
do
the way
that?
to 115?
And I'm trying to look it up. Our police chief was making comparable to the guy in Fruitland Park that has like double the amount of officers. I don't think that you need to do that.
But I'd like to know the reason why you think we should have it at 115.
Because in general, we don't pay very well.
That for patrol officers, I totally agree with you.
But for the police chief, most of those that are coming or that are applying, from what I'm hearing, these are individuals that are retired from another
So they're gonna be
system.
double
Could be.
So that means that not only, I mean, of course, they're entitled to that, where you have your pension plus whatever the salary that the person would get. So 115, I think that's a lot.
well, see,
It depends on it depends on the candidate. I think that what we should put in budget is having it 90 to $95,000. That way you have a $5,000 range in there.
well, you can't put a range in the budget, but
Well, I mean,
Five-
for
for Well, he already has
advertising.
that.
And that's what they did pretty much, 89 to
So if you
95.
put 6% on what is in there, it comes to 94,870.
Yes.
So, put that in, round it up to 95. But I think it needs to go in. Let's not start the budget in a
Right,
position where it may not be out of date before we've even hired somebody.
yep. Go with a higher number.
Does
So
everybody
you're
agree?
suggesting
Yeah,
95?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, okay. Then just put
What's
it,
the okay,
So the
95,000?
94,870.
Put into the budget,
whatever you
95.
want to do.
Rounding.
It doesn't matter, 94,870 or 95,
Make it
it's,
I think you're rounded to the nearest 10, 95,000.
okay. All right, that's done with the questions that I had with regards to the overall budget. If you're gonna leave Morgan's money in 519, then that's pretty much the general fund done, unless anybody has got any other questions on the general fund before we move on to the other three funds.
Well, we did have a request, I will say, both from our library director and our police chief for possible consideration, not in this budget to be added possibly for the next public hearing. So both of them are looking at the possibility of adding some part-time hours to each of their respective departments. I know in particular, so with Amanda, there are no part-timers currently on the payroll. And she's looking for something in the neighborhood of $13,500 to provide flexibility to her and her staff. And Chief Bachelor, he has some money for part-timers or reservists, as we call them. But he's hoping, based on some advice from individuals, to expand the reservist force, similar to some military departments, to provide perhaps
1-to-1.
something like a 1-to-1 ratio, but it's going to take a little while to get to a 1-to-1. But at least to take his current, is it $11,000 currently in the budget? If you want to come address that.
Yeah, the reserve program should match the active duty 1-to-1.
Again, they currently have it earmarked at 10,800 for our reserve, which is 2,700 for 4 reserve officers. Again, I think that's sufficient, but the problem that we're going to have is as we add is it takes about 300 hours to 320 hours before an officer is in a car by himself. So that's when you get your true benefit of the part-time officer. Yes, we have 2 officers in a car while we're training, but for the purpose of true benefit, you want that extra patrol, that extra visibility, that extra backup, that extra response to a call if another call is pending. So in order to get to that, again, I would just look at some additional funding for training. So if we took it to about 15,000, we could take the 5 to 6 for the purpose of getting them by themselves and then have the remaining to actually be effective and have them out working the road on the Saturdays, the Sundays, and in addition to. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, is increasing it by about 4,200.
Is your goal to try to get to a 1-to-1 ratio?
It is, but I think we would have to look at that per year. If you're willing to fund a little more, we can certainly add, but I think right now with the force and the amount of FTOs that we have, 2 at a time is adequate. And if we get 2 in, you're looking at about 6 months to get them on the road, which would put us into about mid next year.
Okay.
So if we could kind of get them trained up, utilize that training money, but then in addition, our other 2 officers that are out there would be accessible and able to work by
What's been your
themselves.
experience in retention for reserve officers?
It's been pretty good because actually some of the applications that we're actually looking at, people don't want a full-time position. They're actually looking for a part-time to remain active in law enforcement and remain visible.
So they retired early from law enforcement, or are they working for another law
I
enforcement?
think what's
agency?
occurred in some of them, and again, this is just given an overview of the general applications that we've received since I've been here. It appears that many of them has left law enforcement to the private sector and is making a little bit too much money to come back. So that doesn't mean they're not good at what they do. We do have 2 officers that are with us, that's been with us since I've been here for many, many years, and they're pretty much volunteers. So even though we have 5,
they typically only come out for special events, and I think we know who they are, and they're very good to the agency,
So
so.
one of the challenges that the military side of the house has is a lot of their reservists turn out to be first responders in other communities. So if you say, I'm gonna call out the New York Guard, there's a problem in New York City, guess what? All those New York first responders are now doing their primary job. And now you're gonna call up the guys out Colorado, Wyoming to say, hey, you need to be taken to place that we've known to do with these guys. And so I just don't want us to have where we've got our reserve officers, they're all employed with X number of police departments. So that if there's a problem in that city and you think, wow, I need to pull them into the town to help out, they won't be there.
Yeah, the majority of them are private sector.
Okay.
So how much are you looking at?
So I
He's
would
looking
look
at
at
additional
increasing
42.
an additional 4,200 to bring it to 15,000 total for the reserve salaries.
It's prudent.
But equally, we've got 50,000. I mean, first and foremost, we've got 7 road patrol officers when ideally we would only have 6 at this moment in time. So we're already carrying extra money. And we've also got 50,500 in overtime wages. And that, of course, attracts both the FICA and Medicare and the pension. So that 50,000 could be 60, 70,000, without me calculating it out. So can you not just simply take that 4,200 and just move it to the reserves and take it out of the overtime?
I think we could do that because again, I think when you're looking at your overtime status, if we do have part-time that's going to help out, it's going to be a little cheaper on the overtime status as well as our position outside of the schools now, having 3 on the road, we have the ability to fill positions without actually accumulating overtime. So yes, I think we could move a little bit on that, but and we need to be careful too, because we want to have our overtime in the event we do have something that occurs where we need that.
Right.
Emergency, yeah.
Well, can you just have a look, Sean, and see where we were with overtime last year against this year? Because don't forget, we had quite a considerable amount of overtime last year to cover for school resource officers, which we're not having to do this year.
So overtime, well, so FY26 budget was 61,000. 8-month actual was 42 with a projected 63, but we put in 50,500 as an estimate for the upcoming year, knowing we'd use less, but I don't know if that, because again, it's hard to.
I would
Take it
prefer
down.
at this moment in time, and in my opinion, to move that 4,200 out of overtime and put it in there so that we're not increasing the overall police budget other than the 5,000 for the police chief.
Okay, so 4,200 from overtime to reserve.
Yes.
That's fine. I think that.
Does
Yep.
that leave you enough for?
I think so, because
Overtime.
like I said, I think, as we coming out of the schools, a lot of that did utilize overtime money to cover those positions. I just want to be careful that as we add officers, we do still have training, we still have off duty. And as we add part-timers, we got to remember it takes about 6 months to have that part-time available. So during that 6 months, we could occur overtime that would need to be paid. So I just want to be very careful with that. So yes, but I think that would be a manageable number.
Are the reserve officers fully equipped like the regular officers?
Yes, sir. And we're sitting pretty good on equipment. We've partnered up with the sheriff's office and some of our other PDs that have an abundance of gear. So like if we have to get a vest or something temporary till we can get a grant, which SECO provided us 2 last year. So we'll work that angle again, but we do have means to kind of outfit them without going too far. The only thing that we would be concerned with is, of course, the medical and the startup cost. We would look at that as, making sure we're managing that because we had a couple people leave and a couple people come back on in the last 7 months since I've been here.
One of the things we've talked a little bit about on the side is to try to set up training opportunities for your officers. It requires a little more of a stable force, I think, but I guess philosophically, are you still of that same mind to offer the additional training. Because I mean, to retain people, pay is important. But the other thing that is important is, do they feel like they're making progress in their career? And I think Rafi going away, coming back, was able to tell everybody, yeah, sometimes it looks greener on the other side of the fence until you get over there and you realize now why it is greener. And he came back, and I think that's good. I think folks like to find something they're good at, something they like. And if we can keep our retention high, and I think a lot of that is the police department will be growing, the town will be growing, therefore, we're going to let you learn how to be a detective or things like that. I think that's the kind of thing that will keep the folks in line. Some are trained, I guess, as SWAT team.
Opportunity is key, and we're gonna focus on the full-time officers first. That's our primary focus.
Right.
We're certainly not beyond allowing our part-timers to have some training, but our full-time guys are gonna be our focus.
Well, part of the incentive thing could also be, we have this with the guard guys sometimes. Well, if you really want that extra training, go join the active duty guys instead. Oh, okay. A lot of times that helps too, where you can have a pipeline of guard personnel coming in to fill your holes, that you're no longer having to rely on new recruits.
Of course, that's one of our number one priorities, is to ensure that if we're doing our job, those individuals will be fit and ready to fill a position.
Yes,
Of course, we're not gonna accept mediocrity neither.
right.
We're gonna allow outside opportunity if we can't get our individuals that are on a part-time status up and.
I mean, generally speaking, at least for the Air Forces, we bring them on active duty. When they get ready to leave, we put them in reserve guard, same thing, reserve position. And so the idea is, I really lower my training costs for that reserve component, because they got that training at the front end of a career, if you will. And then some of them, sometimes because they see an opportunity, will change their affiliation, go and get that training or that badge or whatever it is that they really want.
Well, currently, over the 7 months since I've been here, we've allowed the opportunity to have 4 instructors, full-time instructors, just with ourselves. And they vary and range from firearms to just general instructor techniques. So we're also trying to build that in-house training as well.
Good.
So we are working towards that, yes.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
By the way, I did look up Fruitland Park's chief is at 95,000, and their force is double the size of ours.
Well, we just had Jessica calling around. Fruitland Park Chief is at 117,000.
Who is?
Fruitland Park Police Chief.
According to the budget.
Okay, that's what I just got from Jessica calling this week to Fruitland Park. So
Okay, well, we've covered that at the 95. What was the other one you wanted to do with the library?
yeah, the library, Amanda, if you'd like to.
I've asked for part-time staff just primarily to cover vacations, illnesses. If there's an emergency like last year when Hannah's father passed, we didn't have any coverage. So we depend heavily on volunteer coverage for any extra help. We're doing about over 1,000 hours a year in volunteer coverage, and they make their own schedules. We don't tell them when they need to be here. They come in when they're available. So it was the same thing when Hannah resigned this year. We didn't have a lot of coverage. I'd had a vacation planned since February, and there was a lot of chaos just because her resignation overlapped with the vacation. And so we just really want somebody that we can depend on during illnesses, vacations, times when I need to be away at a meeting or a conference.
And just to be clear, this would not be a regularly scheduled part-time person. This would be more of a
Maybe a few hours.
as needed.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
So this isn't 10 hours every week. This is
10 hours a week. It would be maybe an average of 15 hours a week, but it wouldn't actually be 15 hours every week. It would be, the way that I calculate it was an average of 15 hours a week, but it would be more like maybe on like one Saturday a month kind of situation on a rotation.
What's the
And then
cost of that?
it was 13,000 and
473. That's Oscar's calculation with the whatever the number of hours was with all the 13,473.
Wasn't it just a couple years ago that there was not even a full-time, it was just a part-time, right? and I think they were 13,000. How
Yeah.
many years ago?
About
4 years.
3.
Yeah, 2 or 3, I thought.
It was subsequent to me getting on the council. The first year I was here, that position was a part-time position. But we are going to be growing. I think, and since I'm getting ready to ask her to do something, and we really kind of stepped on her a little bit last night, I think we ought to go ahead and do it. Do what she's asking there to help her out. Because the thing that I'd like to see her do is the work she already did. Do it all over again for this upcoming year. The difference is ask for 500,000 for design rather than 200,000.
Okay.
Because
Need it.
what we're looking to do is build you a brand new building downstream.
Okay.
And it's going to be a bigger place and it's going to take more design work. And then the 2 following years after that, I'd like to see us go in and ask for, how much can we get grand total? Just $1 million?
It's $1 million per project and no more than $500,000 each year.
Well, they spent 2
But-
million on Fruitland Parks
They
Library.
changed the rules because of Fruitland Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They
Tried to be a
they
little tighter.
they pushed it and then people said, that shouldn't happen again.
That's-
And
Uh-huh.
it changed.
It's got a great. point.
And we're still counting design as a different project, right? So you
Okay,
can say, oh, let's, do 200 or 500 for design. Oh, but that was totally different than the construction, which we can get $1 million max for. But of
okay.
course you have to ask
That's
500,
what I would like to shoot for is $500,000 for the design, which we go in for in the following year, which would go into 27, and then $1 million
Well-
for construction.
but you still have to do it $500,000 at a time. So it's you're talking about asks for calendar year 27, 28, and 29 to
Right.
get $500,000 each.
So the construction would start taking place in 28, 29 timeframe,
Right.
with the library opening, aiming for about 2030, roughly. And when we turn the money back in for what we did, we need to tell them that the reason is we want to go for a brand new library building.
Yeah,
I can do that.
Don't tell them we're,
don't tell them, now here you go, and saying, wait a minute, the need has changed, the requirement has changed.
the requirement is larger than we thought.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring this back to the request that's hand, because then we can move off the general fund. What other council comment do I have?
I don't think we should be spending extra money right now.
Renee?
That's just my opinion.
How many people are working in the library now other than yourself?
1 person.
Oh,
The rest are volunteers.
Hannah's replacement, Lorelei.
that's the only one other.
That's the only one other paid staff member.
So you're asking for 13,473 to be added to the budget
For a
a
part-time.
part-time person,
Yes.
and that will include.
This includes the FICA and everything. That's Oscar's calculation. And my point in saying this is not a regular 10 hours every week kind of a position. That would also indicate there's a very great likelihood that not all of that money would necessarily even be used in a year, depending on volunteer availability, but that it's there in a pinch if needed. So it's more like a seasonal part-timer.
Like an on-call.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that if there's only one other person, although I'm not really big on spending money right now because of all of the other things that are in front of us, especially if the property tax thing goes away. But if it's going to be on call, I'd much rather us have the items in the budget than having these budget adjustments in the middle of the year. I really don't care for the budget adjustments.
And we have to recognize that the demographics of our community are changing. The number of people who are available to do volunteer work is going to shrink because those families come in. It's usually both parents working, whereas until now, we've had a fairly large retiree population looking to do something would help out in the library. That part of the population is shrinking. The family part is growing, and the people who might normally be available for doing the work are not available anymore. I mean, for years they ran their town hall using volunteers because they had so many people who had retired.
That's a very good
that were looking for
point,
something to do. Now that demographic is changing.
where you have a lot of families, the parents are commuting into Orlando.
I mean, we looked at that last week with our friends meeting, is that there's people
Don't,
that.
don't forget, John, we've got Regency at Lake Hill. We're gonna have all kind of old people, and that's what, 500 and
Well, I would
70
say
homes.
50.
You're going to have so many more. Yeah, you're going to have that older population, Tim. But when you think about having Meritage and having Stonehill, and then you've got Panther Run that are literally, you're talking over 5,000 homes. That is going to be a lot of young
And how
people.
how soon is this?
That, what do you
That all
speak of
this-
Panther?
that all this is gonna be
Twenty
done?
twenty-seven. We're going vertical.
They're building the houses now.
Yeah, they're going vertical now in Meritage, and Panther Run is expected to be vertical full at least more than halfway by mid-27. They're pretty much on target. So when you think about that kind of population, plus they're looking at transportation, and they're saying that they're going to have at least 20,000 jobs. That is what they're building out up there. That is going to impact Howie. It is going to have its impact.
And if they're living
So-
here, they're gonna be coming here. for
That's all that I'm
services.
saying.
Well,
Yep. We are their closest parks. We are their closest lakefront. We are their
We're the
closest
closest-
library.
Why we should
Along
just
with
have-
everything else going on.
You gotta pay to get into the town.
Toll
Solve
road,
the problem.
toll road, pay for service.
So I think that we should put it in the budget for the 13,473, but being prudent to not use it if we don't have to.
Right.
Is that, sounds
That's
good?
fair.
I have a real issue with this because if you go back a year, we couldn't find any more money than 3% to give to Hannah. As a consequence, we lost a valuable member of staff, not necessarily just because of pay, but certainly it was a factor in there. And the fact is now suddenly we want another 13,000 to go into the library. My view is if you want 13,000 to go into the library, you work with the town manager to find savings in other areas inside of the library budget, or the town manager finds another department that he can move that money from.
No, what she's asking for is an increase in the workforce as we grow. And she's asking for it very incrementally. Now, we went 3 years ago from 1.5 people to 2 people there. I don't see a problem after, this will be the 4th fiscal year thereafter, adding what amounts to what, 1/10 of a person or a 1/5 of a person, something like that, onto her staff. It's not the same as the situation with Hannah. We were able to find an adequate maybe even better replacement. I don't know. I don't know how good the different people. You're talking about increasing the staffing here as opposed to that situation, which is an individual wanted more money. And so she found a job that paid her better and we were able
She
to
did find a
backfill.
job that paid her better, according to what I've heard.
Well,
She left for a career move.
Well, I would too. I mean,
I would too.
I mean, they're paying her and they're
I
covering.
would have done the same. thing.
whatever
Oh,
reason in that she left,
Absolutely.
we were able to backfill the position at the salary we were paying that individual for the new person. In this case, we're talking about giving additional work capacity to the library. And I think it's a very small amount. And to use an example, we were talking last night about the 26,000 extra that we get above and beyond what we pay the contractor because we think that our billing clerk works for free. And now we want to add, the librarian wants to add some additional assistant to make her function work better. I think we ought to do it. I agree uh, with Councilwoman Lanneman. And, we can afford it, so let's go ahead and start building. It's not just the police department that's gonna need more people as time goes on. We're gonna have to increase the staff of our other functions too, so let's begin the process now.
Well, let's just take it as a straw poll then. Those who are in favor of adding 13,000 to the library budget? Say aye,
Aye.
then you get your money.
Thank you.
I still think you should look to make savings elsewhere in order to cover this.
Okay, well, and I get your point, Mr. Mayor, about paying the previous person more, but it was the previous person's early departure, whether you want to attribute that to low compensation or not, that really showed the need for this flexibility in hours so that we're not left at a total loss right before summer reading program with one staff member trying to manage a department by themselves while they have personal time scheduled and it's summer reading and it's all these other things. So, I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
And we could do both.
This should give
We
her
need to at
more, a
least
little
do
bit
one.
more flexibility, this upcoming budget year.
Okay, that concludes the general fund.
Yes, and was there anything else from our PD or our library? Okay, just to make sure. Any other council questions or comments on general fund?
Morgan, what about you?
He's here for the other parts.
I have a question for Morgan. Do we have, every year for the last 4 years prior to this, at the budget, we were presented an update of the road repair program, which showed every road in the city and when they were scheduled for reconstruction up to the next 20 years or so. We even had the roads in Tallahassee and Venetia on there. It'll be a while before we get to them because they're essentially brand new, but we were working on that. Have we got an update? What are we proposing? We're talking about doing Valencia in 26. Do you have the road program updated for future years beyond that? Could you provide us a copy, please?
Just out of curiosity, this Panther Run, let's say we start getting more and more people coming in from out of town. Can we charge fee for service? I mean, is there any reason why we couldn't do
So
that?
I missed the
No,
question on
we
the-
can't because we're part of the county
Because we're
library.
because we're part of that,
Yes, we.
then we could, right?
Well, and just to be clear, so the county cuts us a check every month because they realize
Right.
that we are serving unincorporated areas and they are collecting taxes for libraries from town residents and unincorporated residents. So to make it somewhat equitable, they give us a
So then we would
significant
go in and
contribution.
ask for more money. Is what we
No,
should do.
well, we just signed an agreement at the last
Oh,
meeting.
no, I understand that. I'm talking about if we get all this influx of new people.
I tell you,
So-
if the amendment goes through and it passes, the county are going to be without money. So you could see all
Well,
kinds of things change as far as the library.
That certainly may be, but just to be clear, so having a lot of unincorporated people or people in town, currently the model for appropriations. They want to give more money to bigger libraries and less money to smaller libraries. And it's not perfect, but the metric they have is circulation. So the more books and videos and everything that checks out of our library, they use that to say, okay, Leesburg's 10 times bigger than Howey, and Leesburg gets 10 times more money than Howey. And they use that to rank order. You should check out 100 books and read them every month.
So no way.
So if they go into our library and the Leesburg gets
Yeah.
credit for it,
No, wait, no.
No.
If anyone goes to our library from anywhere,
then
We
we
get credit
then we
for
get
it.
credit for it. So
Right.
in a way, we are gonna get an increase.
yes,
In
you are
monies.
correct. Yes.
Wow, so.
So the more our library serves people, the more money we get from the county
Means
library
we
fund.
need a bigger library sooner than later.
Hence why I think handing the money back, but with a, wait a minute, requirement has changed. We realize we're going to be growing. The growth is gonna force us to grow.
We have no choice
not.
whether
We
we
have no
want
choice.
to or not.
By the way, when you write the thing for the new library building, make reference to this discussion concerning people that will be living in Groveland, but will live much closer to Howey-in-the-Hills
Mhm.
and will want to use your facility. Okay.
I think that's actually already in the
As
application verbiage
They
that we do
share,
serve a lot of.
they share the same zip code, because technically it is Howie, they just gave it away.
I get a lot of mail addressed to me in Groveland, Florida. by the
Groveland.
way.
And like I tell you-
Groveland, Howie in the Hills, we should be collecting that
And,
revenue,
and
but it's not happening, so.
FDOT doesn't view Howie as Howie, it views Howie as, oh, you mean really Groveland?
Exactly,
Yes.
it is what it is. Okay,
That was a
Moving on.
decision we made 20 years ago. when
Bad
we gave up
decision.
that land to,
bad decision.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go now, town manager?
I believe the only unaddressed.
Something.
Oh, sure.
Because I don't like budget adjustments, I'm just throwing this out there to discuss about. We constantly hear of the audience unable to really hear because of the audio. And I know I heard a figure of 8,500, that it would cost to improve the system. It's enough that we don't have a good council chamber, so to speak, compared to other townships. We're still kind of doing roller desk and things like that. We can at least until we can look at building our municipal complex, that we can improve the sound. Another thing, I wanted to suggest is us not any longer looking at using Zoom. Zoom is a product or a platform that have been used back some time ago. I know many big corporations and our entity don't use Zoom anymore for many reasons, but one of the reasons is its ability to communicate and its privacy abilities. And so maybe having, I don't know how his infrastructure, but to look at WebEx probably, or maybe,
Go to meeting.
that's another good
Or
one.
song.
But people are unable to hear. Yet last night's meeting, there were a couple of taxpayer or constituents that could not log in. They were waiting to try to get in and was asking if there was a technical problem. And they waited for like 20, 30 minutes to try to log in. And I guess maybe they couldn't be seen or don't know what happened. And the same thing with the septic to sewer meeting. I tried to listen in and I could not hear really well, got cut off. And it's just, so I'm just thinking about how we can actually project the sound.
Yeah.
Where maybe Bluetooth speaker system, I don't know. I'm good with technology, but that's not an area I'm expertise
I think
in.
we kind of have 3 or 4 different things kind of bundled in there. I will say
Well, because you're going to need to change the platform most likely for a better ability for the user to be able to log in. That's one. Two, to be able to hear, whether they're on the phone or on a computer. The kind of issues that we're having to have our meetings virtual are challenging.
So, and I will say, as far as the platform changing things, I mean, Mr. Brock and I let people in manually, and I don't, from what we could see, I don't think there was anyone waiting
Okay.
20 or 30 minutes, let alone 2 or 3 minutes.
So
For
you
the-
have to allow people to get on
Well,
to
we've,
the meeting?
we have, yes, and
Yes.
that's a feature, not a bug, in the sense that
Right.
we very often have had, racially hateful messages or pornography videos or different things spammed in. So you certainly don't want, I mean, some platforms let people unmute themselves, and that is really bad.
No.
Luckily, with our current platform, we can make sure nobody has the ability to unmute themselves for those reasons I stated. As far as the wastewater workshop, that was kind of an odd setup. We were expecting a much more kind of intimate environment. Mr. Cates and I were sitting in the middle of the room with a microphone. We didn't pass the microphone around. And then I think we also had a blip where about 3/4 of the way through the meeting, it got kicked offline back here where it's run. And
Right.
we didn't have a person. It was just myself and Mr. Cates. So we didn't have a person saying, oh,
I was thinking that something like that
fix
was
all the
going.
mics and unmute them and everything. So we didn't even realize I was co-host up there, but I didn't realize it flipped back here. So that was kind of just an unusual meeting setup that we had in that case. I know Mr. Brock, the fundamental of your question is the sound system. I know Mr. Brock in the past has priced this out because it's not a matter of just saying, oh, here's a package, plug it in, and there you go. We have to look at the framework we have. And what was the last price you got, Mr. Brock? I want to say it was 20 plus.
I will say that Counselor Everline has given me some quotes on some mics that you can buy online and that sort of thing. There's a wide range of what those are compared to a professional system, which is 25 to 30,000. Having somebody come in and professionally install it and put the appropriate speakers in the back and replace this 1990s sound system that we have up here.
Mhm.
So, there is a range. If you're serious about wanting the sound to get better, we need to invest more than 10,000. We need to think of it as a real project. And I'm
And I don't
okay
think
with
we
that,
should
but
be
we need to
doing
have
that.
professionals come in and give
Yeah.
us quotes to redo the system. I will tell you when other municipalities have done this recently, like Tavares, I spoke to their person, and I'm not recommending that we do what they did, but theirs was closer to 60,000.
Didn't the guy in Montverde do it himself? Didn't Paul do that himself?
He did.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, I definitely don't think we should be investing that kind of money, that type of money in a system. We should be looking at putting it in our new chambers, our new building. So,
Well, and you might be able to carry the new soundboard and the new microphones. I mean,
And just, I would tell you that we have had lots of complaints and we really should professionally fix the sound system. I know you guys are very eager to move into a new place, but I would like everyone to have a level reset here. That's millions of dollars and many years away. A sound system could be within 6 months.
So how much do you think it will be, John? How much
I
would you
just
need
need
to put?
between 20 and 30,000 if you want to do it legitimately.
Well, the way
You want to have professionals do
Yes.
it.
if
If
you
you want me to just wing it, and it will be very similar to what we've got here, except for there'll be different
New.
microphones, that may or may not plug into the sound system that's down here.
no, we need to revamp it and have it done
I had
properly.
some quotes done years ago, and I was told at the time that we don't have the money for that. So
Okay.
I'm sure they're no longer valid, being years ago, but I would say that we're probably in the range of 20 to 30,000 to
Okay.
professionally do
But
it.
can we have the sound system set up such that instead of relying on your devices on the desk there, it's built into it?
well, that's a different, I mean, that's just a backup for recording, if that's.
Well,
what
I
you're talking about.
understand it, but I mean, can we put in a sound system better for us? can it also reduce the amount of work you need to do? It automatically dumps it to AI,
No,
pretties it up for you and sends it to you.
And those are, I don't know, those are redundancy systems that you
Okay.
want.
yeah,
So if you're talking 20 to 25,000 to do it, and I believe that it needs to be done, we currently at the beginning of this meeting had a $45,525 carry forward figure to the following year. We've spent roughly 18,000 and change.
13 and a half.
No, because we added to the police.
No, you said that was a shift from overtime.
Okay.
Yes.
So
32,000 left.
Okay, so we have 30.
We spent 13,000 hundred on the library.
Yeah, so 45 minus
Okay.
13 and a half.
So on the
leaves
basis
us-
of that other one, you're right, and I'm wrong.
We have about 30,000.
So what
Which
I'm
is
saying
exactly
is, just put it in the budget, put 25,000 in the budget. You don't have to spend it, but let's get something that we can actually use that people over there can hear what we're saying.
Mayor Wells,
I will,
why don't we round it up to what Mr. Brock said was the
listen,
high end years ago, which was 30,000.
you can put it in at 25. I will get quotes. If it's not enough, I'll
Do a
come back
mid-year
to you and
adjustment.
tell you that it's not enough. I will
And
just
when you
tell
get quotes, could you make sure there's more than one microphone that's portable up here?
Sure. I can
We
have
we
however
probably
many-
need to have 2 or 3
Well,
because we've had so many occasions where people have been passing that one microphone.
And that microphone's not very good either. But if we put it into the budget, they're still going to have to I'd like to get 3 quotes on it, and it can come back to council to be approved before it's purchased anyway.
Well, that's under the procurement.
I don't care
threshold.
what the procurement is. I'm asking if we put it in the budget, you get 3 quotes and they come back to council.
He's asking to make an exception to the normal procurement policy because of the heightened interest on this particular item.
So 30,000, Mr. Mayor?
I said 25. you know.
And if we can make sure that when we, I know that sometimes we're spending that kind of money, but we don't know how long it will be before another building, but a system that may be able to transition into another environment that we can use it and not have to
Yeah.
chuck it.
Yeah, that we can transition it to a new building, but that might be 5 years.
Yeah, 5 year, but right now we need the citizens to
need
be
to
able
do
to hear,
something.
even if they're sitting at the round table in the back.
And the fact that we're getting partway through meetings and it's dropping out is it's just not very professional. So
So John, what did you have? I see you have things running around in your mind. What are you thinking?
It's okay. I will warn you that no matter what microphones I get, you still have to get up to the microphones for the people to hear you in the back. So I'm just,
No, clip,
I can
lavalier,
get clip one, but then you have to.
lavalier.
Sit closer to the front,
Where?
Tom.
Jeff, you and David are worst at it, because you sit back. I don't mean to interrupt the meeting, but if I'm David, get out, I just lean forward because of the humming back here, we can't hear.
Am I okay, Mr. Mayor? Thank you.
some of us have to multitask.
Hearing the mayor and he's 5 feet away from me, so.
It's the accent.
I thought you just tuned me out. Okay, so can we have a straw poll to add some money in to try and get a better sound system?
25?
30.
25.
25.
25.
Going once, going twice, 3
Okay,
times.
just put it in under your budget.
Excellent.
And then come back to us with the
quotes.
ideas.
Yeah.
And let's talk about it again.
It's not part of our procurement policy, but because of the heightened council interest, you need to run the selection by us before you consummate it.
Excellent.
Put it under 511 and you guys can make the purchasing decision once I give you the quotes. Doesn't matter.
Don't be like that.
It
It doesn't become you.
And one other,
Doesn't matter where it
look
goes,
at
just-
another platform as well, other than Zoom?
So, I mean, and just to clarify, I mean, Zoom doesn't make people speak louder or.
No, it's more of, it gives you more of a encryption layer. Other platforms like a WebEx, I don't know what that would cost you guys, but
I will tell you that switching, we do need to switch to something, but we need to switch to something that is not a two-way communication.
Yeah.
It needs to just be broadcasting the meetings.
right, now WebEx, you can control it. I'm on WebEx.
It won't be WebEx either.
Why?
It'll be something else.
Cause it's too
It's
expensive?
not a meeting thing that we're gonna get. It's a broadcast of the meetings.
But I'll tell you, Council Animate, we will look into it.
But you would,
and
but
evaluate.
if the constituents are online, they do need an ability to be able to speak. If you use WebEx, you can unmute them and mute them. You have control of the panel.
There's not a statutory requirement that we have any system to go outside.
True.
It's something that's entirely our option. And what they're suggesting is that's
That you just want
That's-
to broadcast and not
that's
allow the ability
that's
to
another
speak.
discussion from
95% of municipalities and counties do that. I'm not aware of another municipality that allows for
Two-way.
virtual participation.
Yeah.
And
So what do you do about public comment then?
Public comment is not guaranteed except in person. Just because,
Okay.
to Councilor Miles's point, there's no guarantee that you have a video broadcast of your meeting.
So what happens also
You can
when
come
you
in person.
have a council member that is absent, but you've agreed that they can participate?
No, but we voted that there's no more
The charter
voting,
says you can participate,
but not vote.
but not vote.
And that person could phone in or
But
something.
it also states that that's in certain circumstances. And somebody's on vacation, I get that. If somebody's in a hospital bed and they have a computer, then they still can, because that's what it says. But what I'm saying is it's still a two-way, whether they participate or whether they vote or they don't vote.
In that case, though, and we're getting a little off track here, but in that case, I mean, you could set up a two-way communication via Teams for the person and still have your broadcasting one-way
Yeah.
scenario. But to Councilor Miles's point, broadcasting is a benefit to the public, and allowing public comment on a broadcast is a benefit too. What's that?
No, that was your idea. You should. Idea.
You said
Don't
before.
idea. I just said there are multiple options and it's within our discretion as to what to do. And what we do now was something that was decided at least
During
10 years
COVID.
ago.
During
because-
COVID, right? Is that-
No, before
That was
that.
before COVID, true.
I attended meetings in 2017 in this room.
Yeah.
And we had Zoom and we had everything then, so.
But to your point, Councilor Lanneman, because it's been a while, Mr. Brock and I can certainly review the options and look for the features that are desirable or maybe not desirable, and do a cost evaluation as well and see if there's not an opportunity here for a change. Okay?
Sounds really good.
Okay.
And can
Look
you,
at WebEx.
can you do that
No, I
prior
think
to the first
WebEx
budget
is
hearing as well?
excellent
So that
global
if we want to
Secure.
add it, we can.
So yeah, and we'll look at those features, that what it allows, what it doesn't allow, whether that's good or bad for
Okay.
us.
Bring it back to council then as soon as we can. Anything else on the budget for the general fund? If not, we have 3 funds to do: water, wastewater, and the building services fund. Or did we do building services?
I thought we already did
Yeah,
that.
I think it was
Okay.
water,
then
wastewater.
That's fine.
Water and wastewater are the only two on there that we haven't done.
Okay, let's do what?
Can we do time out?
Sure.
Really? What have you got here?
No.
Some of us have,
Weak
shorter
bladders.
time frames.
Football has timeouts every 15 minutes. I mean, come on.
Go watch football then. All right. 5 minutes.
Motion.
Oh. Just need to go get back. 37, John.
Does anyone want next door?
No, I'm okay.
Paul, he retired.
Yeah, he's now traveling around with his fifth wheel.
I thought, because he would be a good person for John to talk to. I thought he did a really nice job.
Go to use the lobby. We need to get on. Some of us want to go home.
Some of us just want to get up, be able to stretch our legs too.
I must be getting old. I'm getting grouchy all the time. That right, John?
John, you're gonna just leave me out there? I just looked at him and chuckled like, yeah. But we're still buddies and neighbors.
But it has all the base. So it's labels. And it has all the content where the watershed to. Now they're saying. We have that in our machine, in my stormwater management. By kids. But it's all shown with a copy.
Did we do all the impact fees? Water impact fee and all those, or did we not?
Like you did one.
Right.
All the graded.
I don't think we actually got out of, I've got a general fund to them, so. I may be wrong. Police impact fee.
And that's what I'm.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll be happy to do that. Yes. And we did,
John.
we did, yeah.
Hey there, you know me. It can't come just a Stanley. We can't keep that. Gotta make it. Yeah.
Particularly the, souvenir and auto parts.
Kind of like similar to the Yetis.
They're like that.
Like the
They-
cups.
They were out long.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Then you kind of turn it by thermos, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. You unscrew it, you can actually have that on the bottom of the top of the lid, it says, then you dump it out. Basically take it,
I used to have that in my lunchbox.
The University of Stevens, there was only three master people, you know. Therefore, that's all the rest were people. That's what the opposite do, all the years. That's what they. But that was. No, I think we were on. It's all junk.
Something else we could do, we clean up the wires before I string them, so that that's.
No, John, Morgan had a good point, which was get the IT guy involved as well.
Wait till next fiscal year to.
Oh.
Want me to get the.
So paid 90 grand, you might as well give him something to do.
But if they're so far behind with compliance, I'm sure they find plenty to do.
If you knew how far behind, you wouldn't want to be in there.
Yeah, I like those better.
But it's less pricey than. Right.
It's a good question for Paul. Which one? What's the question, please?
Here's something a lot. Wow. Okay. I was given this. Um, 70-year-old guy when I worked for Charles. Must be since 1970. What's the immediate? He retired and passed away a few years later. Except for it was instead of a staff officer.
I know I'm good. Thank you for asking. I'm good.
Comptroller. The comptroller. It was exactly the same as it. I think I still have it.
So this statement was my patent. So this statement has been the Air Force Office of Tongue Quill, which is our publication on how to prepare presentations and official correspondence. For 2 decades, it was used by the Air Force. It was a ACSC project by a major. And he pulled all together the various regulations, everything in one site file. Air Force used it for years. It's great. Great jokes in it, cartoons, everything. And then, when the Air Force decided to leave the official publication for it, and stuff.
Okay, let's bring this meeting back to order at 2:44. John, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, so water and wastewater.
Yes. Do we have any questions on water and wastewater?
Yeah, what page are they on?
40 and 41 and 42. While David's finding that, we talked, or we were going to talk at the council meeting last night about wastewater increase, and it was pulled from the agenda.
Because it's gonna take, because we've never done it before, so talking to legal, it's going to require noticing all residents or all affected residents and
Of what?
of the rate increase. Because unlike water, where we had established by ordinance, so it had its ordinance, it had its public hearings, it had its
Right, but
mailings and notices to automatically increase year after year. We have done nothing to increase wastewater ever. So we have to create from scratch with the aid of legal, the mechanisms to do all
okay,
the.
well, in my opinion, you can do that in a future year. I don't see no reason why we need to increase that fee this year. So we can just
If
leave it
if
off.
there's a straw poll to not increase wastewater this year,
Is it gonna break the bank?
well, it won't. I mean, we haven't increased it
I mean,
ever.
you're using the current rate we have right now, right?
The
The
$22.
$22,
Yeah.
which has been the
Thank
rate
you. No, but
from.
I think to Graham's point is. Okay, we've got the numbers for now. Graham's point is, let's work on the mechanism for the next year so that we can look at having a method of
Because what it-
increasing.
That would Because it was supposed to be a 5.01% revenue increase on the town's revenue portion. So I mean, it's a percentage. So
We
it's
absorbed
would have to,
last year
It's $1.10.
a $4 increase out of the total wastewater fee that we were paying. We did not raise it to the customers, but we increased the amount in that contract that we were paying
Right.
to the CDD. When's the next time we have to go up $4?
so, because it was,
No,
It was-
we increased it
it-
last
we,
year.
we did it to the, it was a
The
pass through.
CDD part.
So it was 22 on the town side, which it still is 22. On the CDD side, it was 24, and then 3 steps: 24 to 28,
Yes,
28 to 30, and then 30 to 32, which will happen in February.
so
Comment.
does it go to 30 this coming year?
No, it's at 30,
It's at 30.
and it's going to go to 32. And
Next
then
year?
after, right, in February, and then after that, it would be up to that agency to determine their rate increase on their half, although it's becoming less and less half.
I agree with the mayor. I don't think we should increase the wastewater fee.
Plus the fact the cost of us actually implementing the increase would probably cost you more than what the revenue is. Because if it's $1.10 times 12 times how many we got on wastewater, 172, 272, 300, 400.
Sure.
But you're talking about all this growth, how many homes? I mean, that's what I hear, growth, growth, growth. We're gonna have more homes on this year, right?
I don't know that we're going to have them in this budget year. I don't think that's the
Well,
case.
we just hired a person because of all the growth this year.
Well, that's because of the permitting of them to get them built and what
Well,
have you.
no, I'm just saying, we just added the person in the library because of the growth.
Well,
We,
I
in the
don't-
month
I
of
don't-
July, we permitted the first 7 in the 3 developments that are under construction
I
right now.
understand that.
I would suggest when you go home that you take the long way. In the case, I did it
Oh, I've
yesterday.
driven through there 4 or 5 times already. Yeah, I
There-
drive. through
There are
regularly.
7 homes under construction
know.
in there.
Yeah.
They
In
start going
another,
on sale this
And the
Yeah,
month.
tiny amenities.
in another month or two, there'll be 70 homes under construction in there.
So that's my
Gonna-
point.
So we're
But
talking
we're
not
talking about raising the wastewater fee or not, correct?
Yes.
I'm
But
suggesting we
all of
don't
those
raise
extra
it.
people are going to pay an additional $22. So we're going to get more revenue in from that, which is not even in the budget. I'm just simply saying that raising it to get $5,280, it will cost you more in legal fees to do that. And if you got to notice people, it's an expensive job. I'm not saying we don't do it in the future, just don't think we need to do it in this budget.
And if you do the noticing the way they did it with water, you do it one time and say,
I understand.
and henceforward annually, it shall be X unless council does less than X.
The notice says water bills, so it's not mailing out those.
Yeah. So what were you suggesting at the increase? Were you suggesting?
It would be, we plan the budget revenue, which we always do. We just put in the maximum as a starting point, the maximum allowable for sanitation for water. And we did the same, we used the CPIU category, which was 5.01, even though that's not established by ordinance as to what the rate increase should be. But based on our other methods of increase, it seems like a fair metric to use moving forward for annual increases, because we use the same metric for, for sanitation, because that's what GFL uses. And we use MCI for water because that's what the ordinance picked when that was.
And what amount of income would that bring in at 5.01?
Probably 6,000 or 7,000. I think the mayor counted
5,000.
5,000. So
You could just.
somewhere between that, in that range. I mean, it's not,
Have you
It's
got
not a huge-
proposed in this 154,000?
154, that includes the 5%.
Right, but does it also include new homes in there?
Oscar did this based on, if it's based on a monthly fee, he said with the new homes, 0 new homes on day one, 120 on day
So
two,
he's just-
average it at 60 homes
So
throughout
he
the
did
year.
put in some.
He put in
So
60
there's al-
homes.
So there's already an additional amount in there. Just as a matter of interest, why we've got a balanced budget of 389,000. But in order to balance that budget, you've got 53,724 of use of fund balance. Why?
Oh, no, that's a carry.
It's
Oh,
in
yeah,
revenues. It's you're using 53,000 of last year's, well, this year's money in order to balance the budget. I don't understand. I know we've got more, well, where's he?
He's looking at page, the top of page.
42.
Well, oh, I was on 10, but sure.
And
42.
the other thing is, why have the utilities projected gone from 107 to 201?
Yeah.
Yeah, 42. Okay, thank you.
And
Because you have utility service 8-month actual 107. Oh, yeah, projected. That's wrong.
that's a 54% increase. So there's something wacky about.
Well, the projected did not put a 12-month figure in there.
Yeah, that's, you're projecting based on the 8 month, isn't it?
No, but it's the same number.
The 8 month.
And so that's an error.
Is 107.
You're right.
And what he's questioning.
So basically, you would add,
We'd add about
50% more.
50,
which
Yeah.
would take you to,
about 160 roughly.
yeah, pushing 170, and then I think with the added customers and an extra 5%. Oh no, that's
Then it would
expenditure,
come up,
sorry.
the number that's wrong is the FY 26 projection.
Right.
So you've got, I can't see any purpose or reason why we would need to bring, when we've got, I know the 181,000 is a pass through. Where is that pass through in here in the expense?
That would be under. Well, it counts as a utility service because we are paying the utility, so it's put under the 430. But then there's additional expenditures in there as well. Because he has wastewater. If you look at the breakdown,
Yeah,
the
I can see it
justification,
now.
wastewater is
Yeah.
181, 19,000 electric, and
Okay,
400
so
in
that
water.
makes sense of that 201 based on the revenue. So you got 154,000 coming from the town, but in the expenditures, you've also got two lots of 85,000 for lift station repairs. Didn't we already do those?
I was about to ask him that.
We added bypass pump, which is being grant, the grants are being returned to us now. We're going through the final stage of getting that grant money back. But these are for upgrading the panel boxes like we had to do at the Palaszczuk lift station. Now that we have those pumps online, we couldn't include the panel boxes under the grant, but the bypass, we're having to upgrade all the system, so when we get the water plant online, everything's talking to each other.
Oh, okay. Is that the automated system that we were talking about where they can, okay. So we're at 84,920 for each one of those lift stations?
And that includes, both of those include adding security lights to the lift station, because right now there's no lights out there. If we get a call out at night, those lift stations are completely dark.
Okay.
So we're adding lighting, we're upgrading the panel boxes. And making sure they have all the telemetry in them so they'll all talk to each other. And then, or if you see Palaszczuk lift station repaired, that's just adding lighting and some other stuff to it. That's not the panel boxes, but we've already upgraded that.
So question, the Talashe lift station is complete now? It's completely up?
When you add the Talashe lighting, that lift station is very close to our house.
So we're facing the light away from that house.
Okay.
So is that the 10,000 that's in the budget for Talashe for lighting?
Lighting and some other.
Did we get all the money paid by from Talashe to do all that?
The last payment was just made.
The gods would be able to pay it.
Fourth payment was made for, I believe so.
Palaszczuk lift station. Pay that.
Fourth payment was just made.
So I actually just copied you and Jess on an email. I reached out, so we had a transition from Associa to Edison, and they were holding our money. I had reached out to John. It was June 13th. He sent the last invoice over. We had transitioned June 1st. We didn't get the actual money till I want to say it was the end of July. So I did just send an email to the CFO, Sabrina, copied you on it, asking for an update, because I know on our end, we approved the invoice. So I just want to find out if the check's in the mail or not.
Okay.
But it should be, we have approved it on our end,
How much is it?
2798 change.
20.
$20,798 and change is the fine, and that's the final payment.
And that doesn't hit this budget?
Well,
That'll
it'll
be
go
in the current
this-
fiscal year.
in FY 26.
Is that from the current assessments that help make up?
Yes, it was like 83 and
Okay.
change. It was we did 4 equal payments over 12 months.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. The going down the revenue in the wastewater utility fund. We're projecting that we're gonna receive the grant money that Morgan just mentioned this year. And we've still got 2 more months left in this year. 181,800 is fees that we collect for the CDD. The offsetting expenditure is in what line?
430 utility services.
430. Okay, how come that number in next year is 20,000 more than the revenue that we're gonna take in?
So if you look at the justification of revenue and expenditure below, it has under 430, it has the 181,823 for wastewater, which is to the CDD, plus 18,916 for electric and $408 for water. So if you add all that together, that takes you to the 201.
Shouldn't we have a separate line just for what we pay the CDD? So that these other things,
It is. It's in there. It's the 181,000, which is the
Well-
pass through for.
He's saying just in the expenditure line to have a separate,
I'd like to have a separate
have a
expenditure.
431 line or something. or
So that I could look and say, here's the revenue coming in and here's the expenditure going
and it
out for
matches
them.
exactly.
And it matches
That's an
exactly.
easy.
Yeah, we could at the very least either there's a different code or we could do a
So if I don't
431.
ask dumbass questions like, what's the
That's a good- that's a good
$20,000
question.
difference?
See,
And
yeah.
you go down and explain, it's because we also pay electric and a water bill out of the wastewater fund.
Yeah, pick another code because
Yeah.
it doesn't, it's not right in my mind that it's called a utility service anyway. It may technically be, but there's plenty of other codes and I'll find you one if you can't to put that under.
Fair
And
enough.
the narrative can just simply be CDD.
Yeah,
It's,
CDD payments.
yeah, that's not a problem. That's an easy fix. But-
Uh,
So effectively, out of all of the money that's being collected from Venezia, Talashe and the town homes over however many years has gone into the fund, and that is what you're using the 53,000 for. Okay, so what's the fund balance of that at this moment in time? Do you know?
I do not have that. We will get that to council.
Shall I tell you what it is?
We will get that to council. Say that again?
Shall I tell you what it is?
Sure.
How come there's no transfer out in the budget year? But there have been in prior years.
Good question.
The transfer out, is it not a piece of the money that pays for, that goes to the general fund that pays for the portion of the salaries that are in that department?
It has been in the past.
And I see a number
Actually, I'm sorry, how?
I see a number in the current year. I see 0 in 27.
Yeah. Well, for
We
27,
have the same situation in the water
Something
fund, David.
excess.
There's nothing coming out of the water fund. The only one that's going into there is coming out of the building services fund, from memory.
I haven't looked at the water fund yet. We're just looking at wastewater
It's
fund now.
zero transfer.
For what?
For the water
No, I
fund.
understand that. And we put all
Well,
of that.
we have the same thing in the water fund is what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying, yeah.
And there was a
Yeah.
lot more transferred out of the water fund last year.
Well, I think the water fund is potentially because of all of the stuff that we're doing to build the new water plant, that's coming out of there. So
Yes,
it's understandable in there. How much was that in the wastewater fund, David? Because I'm looking for something else.
it was 40 some odd thousand. 46,977.
Yeah, that's projected 40.
That's the
47,
projected for this
transfer
year.
out. Yeah.
And we've already transferred 31,318 at 8 months, so the 46 looks reasonable. We budgeted 49 and we're projecting 47 against the 49. But then we got 0 in the budget year, which doesn't seem to make sense.
Because it should be a balance though, even if it is 23.
The other thing is that at this moment in time, the fund balance as of 7:30 for the wastewater is 0. So how are you finding 53,000 to carry forward? So if we take $22 times 400 multiplied by how many months we got left? What are we in this July, August and September? We got 2 months, which means that balance is only going to grow by 17,600 ish. So where are you?
Plus the township final payment.
Which was how much, Josh?
20,000 what?
Just under 21,000.
Mhm.
2798.
Okay, so that's 38,600, which is a lot less than the 53,000 you're using as a carry forward figure. How's that work?
It's a good question. I will get you an answer.
And the 460 line, repair and maintenance equipment, is that the line that we pay the contractor
Well,
for doing?
and sorry, I think Mr. Brock had an answer to the mayor's question, which is the grant reimbursements that are still pending.
And the rest was for lighting.
Two lift station upgrades.
Okay, so
I don't know what they are. I'm just saying that's probably where the other.
That's gonna produce a positive fund balance.
So
once
plus the
it's
30,000 that you had there, so I mean.
it would be interesting to have, even if it's a ballpark figure, because I have no idea whether that's 5,000 or 50,000 or 500,000.
Yeah, that's why I asked the beginning balance at the end of the this fiscal
Well,
year.
you got the balance date
That-
at zero. Have you any idea, Morgan, because you deal with the wastewater grant stuff, do you know how much money we're waiting to be rebated or that you've got claims in for?
For the wastewater,
Yes.
it would be all. We haven't got.
When you say all of it,
$254,501
Be the total amount.
where did you get that figure from, David?
from line 334351, state grant sewer
Current year.
Yeah.
in the current year.
451.
Yeah, 8-month actual
That's the
zero,
total
projected
cost of,
250.
Both litigation bypass pump.
Okay.
And it hasn't been received yet. We've built it, but it hasn't been
Well, what we're
received,
doing
right?
is when, and some of these grants are very time consuming. We've got 2 different grants on both lift stations.
You're right.
One is FEMA, one's CDBG through the Florida Commerce. And Florida Commerce won't pay theirs until FEMA pays theirs. And we're trying to schedule a final inspection for FEMA has to do the final inspection on it. And we've been waiting a couple months for that final inspection. Then they'll do an RFI and say, we need this information. They send it to them and then they send us another RFI. You just have to keep doing that.
So is it realistic for us to expect to receive the money this
I would
fiscal
hope
year?
so, but the way the process has been going,
Well,
I would say maybe not by the end of this. fiscal year.
Whether we do or whether we don't, you got to bear in mind that the lift station repairs can only be done as the money comes in anyway. But if we've got 254,000 plus the previous amount, you're talking about 292,000 that's going to come into that fund. So,
When we do get it, then we can start.
right, I get that. So raising the rates that's going to give us 5 or 6,000 seems irrelevant to me, and I don't think we should be doing that, particularly if the cost, and we did this before with solid waste when we had it on the first time when we had it on the water bill. When that went on there, everybody had to be noticed as well, and it's a lot of money. And I think, in fairness, it's not something even they do. We use it through GS Government Service Group that they did it, and
Well, yeah, because you were doing that as a non-ad valorem assessment, which I
okay.
certainly wouldn't recommend, especially in hindsight. But
No, I get that, but what I'm saying is to get $5,000 if you got to spend 10 doesn't make any sense to me.
I think whether it's this year or next year, but I think the ideal structure would be to structure it the way that the water ordinance had been done years ago. Set it and forget it, line it up so that it's annually per CPI or MCI, unless council decides to do less or zero in a given year, but it's
you
there.
can waive it for a year.
Well, I would. You're welcome
Do
to
anything
waive
you
it,
want.
but I would say that whether you like it or not, inflation is still gonna happen year after year. And at some point in time, you gotta put your foot in the pool.
And you don't think the notification would be that, because we could do it with the water bill? Is that what you're?
It's a process. It's ordinanced.
I think the common sense thing to do would be to go through that process sometime after November.
Because our water rate's set to increase. Water rate to that point, our water rate is set to increase or not on October 1. Our sanitation charge comes in October 1, but nothing establishes when the wastewater rate should or should not be increased.
I think
Understood.
that sometime during calendar year 2027 would be an ideal time to put that in place.
I would say, and not that I'm trying to push anything off, but I would keep it the same time frame as the other things, so everything's on the same October time frame as opposed to jumping around. And to be on the
Oh, you-
October timeframe.
Yeah, you can make it,
we
you
are
make,
not gonna-
make it effective
Right,
the
but-
following
but we are-
October one.
We are not going to, there's no way to do that this year. So
Right.
I, you know, I think you're probably right in skipping it this year, but at some point, you gotta put your foot in the pool because the inflation rate is gonna keep going and whether you like it or
Yeah,
not,
I'm
the
not-
city at its core is a business.
I'm not suggesting that we waive it forever, John. I'm just suggesting we waive it for this year. And if there's a process, hang on, if there's a process that we have to go through, let's go through that. But just not for, you can do it in this next fiscal year so that you have it in the next one. But I'd like to know what the cost of that is as well.
And frankly, I mean, to do it this year, it would be a bit of a push anyway. So
Yeah.
So
Let's
can we
do-
have a straw poll to say that we're not going to increase the wastewater rates this year coming up in this
I
budget?
think we all agree on it.
I agree.
Jim, you good?
Here, John doesn't think we can do it. If we can do it, I say let's do it.
Yeah, well,
Let's,
I don't think there's a necessity to do it when you've got nearly $300,000 in that fund, and then you're going to skim the residents for extra money. I just don't see the necessity for it.
it's a lot and it's not a lot. I mean, to do one major lift station project would,
Well, we've already got two in there, so
my point being,
after they've been paid, you have that money.
my point being though, when we say, oh, we want to do a project to finance sewer expansion or do something, and we're talking, you know, 6 figures in the fund, that's not a lot to expand your capital infrastructure in general. But I don't disagree with like delaying it, taking our time to implement it, bringing something in the next calendar year for implementation in the next October 1 potential. But to Councilor Everline's question.
right, and to echo Sean, it would be a heavy push to get that anyway this year. I don't know that we have the manpower right now to do that. So, you know, I would do that. I would feel comfortable waiting till next year. The only thing I would say is, I caution the council, I understand the political leanings and stuff, but if we have an emergency that happens and, lift station completely dies for whatever reason, or, something like that, you need to have reserves in these amounts. And year after year, not taking up the inflation amounts on charges is gonna end up in the long run hurting the town. I just. I had
Yeah,
to
that's
make a
fine.
Piece about that, but
Well,
Yes.
we understand. Okay,
I think the one thing you need to do is take a look at the transfer outline and why is it zero? Is not a portion of the general fund budget for personnel reimbursed out of this fund.
Yeah, I'll double check that.
and see what, do we know what the transfer out money was last year? 52,000, is that what you got, David?
It shows
40.
49, 462 last year. And a projection and 31,318 actual through 8 months of this year.
Yeah,
Projected 46,977.
right.
Right.
Oh, I see.
So effectively, you could, I mean, you could calculate that out so that there's an amount in there, but what it would do, you would have to increase that 53,724 in order to be able to do that, because in this year you've got the big expense
Right.
of the 180,000 or 170,000 for the two lift stations. And, you know, that's covered because so out of the 254,000 that comes, you'll have 154,000 left once that is all taken place. But I think we had these conversations before. We need to try to keep the actual cost in the actual cost center so that we can monitor it. I don't like the fact that we don't have it in the water fund, because the water fund transfer out last year
Right.
was substantial. 157,000 and sorry, and you're projecting. I don't know quite why that projection is that much, but see, you've got projected figure of
126.
126, but then you've also got after the workshop one, that goes to 297. What's that all about? And then we're actually projecting nothing.
Yeah. There's two things that are being transferred out of this water fund. Which fund are you paying the contract from? The impact fee fund or the utility fund?
Yes. Meaning we are using everything we have available in the impact fee fund and then
But the impact fees
But
are
are
coming
you
into the.
are you transferring it from one fund to the
Yeah.
other
Oh,
and paying everything out of
Yes,
that
that
one
is exactly
fund?
what they're doing. That's why the ins and outs in the water fund show it that way. I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's the way that it is being done.
I know you're using all the resources in this fund that are available and all the resources that are in the impact fee fund that are available. But are you transferring it all into one fund?
that's
and
what it
then
looks is
dispersing
being
it out?
managed that way. It originally with the first payments, it was being done one payment from one fund and one from another, but it's being processed through a single fund, it looks like.
See, and here's the other thing. If you have what we had last year, what we ended up with, well, just in the budget, the 157,000 and whatever we're projecting it this year, what that is money that should go into the general fund, which means if it's not going in there, then that's artificially affecting the general fund because that would give the general fund the 157 in terms of more revenue, which would give you a bigger carry forward figure. So when we're looking at millage rates and stuff like that, you can't do a whole lot because there isn't a carry forward. And we've just spent that today with the library and the sound system. But obviously that going back in there. And I think because it's commingled, David, with in it because of the fact we're using everything because of the water plant, that I think that should still.
Well, it looked like this is the fund that disbursements are being made out of. Because all the transfers in from the other funds are coming in as part of the revenue into this fund. And then the projection for transfer out, once again, is I think the same thing as in the wastewater fund. It's a transfer to the general fund in order to cover part of the
Yep.
salary cost.
And I thought there was a limit to percentage you could transfer into your general fund.
Where did you think that came from?
I thought that generally they don't like to see above a certain percentage being transferred.
Well, I think on the basis that the fund is 5 million, if we're talking about 150,000 out of 5
Well, I
million,
guess
the
that's-
percentage is
Yeah.
it's not a huge amount.
We're
3%.
we have a handful of people in the utility area. I think, what is it, 3 or 4 people that are
JJ, Bay, and
Brad.
Brad. That's it for 100%.
okay.
Yeah.
And those people, how about the clerk that's in that area? Is that
That's Fay,
okay?
utility billing.
So that's one of the 3?
Correct.
And she's listed here.
Yes.
Okay. So those 3 people should be paid out of the water and wastewater
Right.
fund by transfers to the general fund, which is where all the payroll disbursements.
Well,
Is that how it's
Because-
being
no,
done?
because-
It's being
because
paid
they're
out of the water
100%.
utility fund.
No,
because they're
they-
100%, they're 100% under the
Yeah,
fund.
they're under
They're-
the fund,
They're
yeah.
funded out.
Yeah,
of
so the
fund.
money going to general fund for salaries
What
isn't.
it
isn't
is
this.
the likes of a proportion of Sean,
Right.
John Morgan,
et cetera,
Kim,
that
Oscar, yeah.
that should be charged to the water fund and indeed the wastewater fund for that proportion, whatever we calculate. We spent a lot of time on that last year. That I believe should still,
So it's the overhead,
yeah.
basically, that
Because
you're.
otherwise what you're doing is you're saying, okay, the water fund's all good, but we're raping the general fund of that revenue, which is a couple of $100,000, and I don't think that's
Okay.
a good thing to do.
Yeah, we done it different ways in the past, but last year we
Right, but we
cleaned
should,
it up,
we
I
should
would say.
we should
Yeah.
follow the path that we set,
Yes.
because that would make a huge difference to the way that the general fund looks.
So anyone who is 100% within a fund is
It's
within
paid
the
out-
fund.
The money is dispersed out of
Right.
that fund.
And anyone, well, right, and anyone who's partial, money is taken out of the fund into the general fund, and then the salary is paid.
Because you've got
From
100,
there.
I think it was 117,000 that comes out of the building services fund that's going into the general fund.
But we have one person that's paid fully and completely, right?
But you're charging some of your,
Mine and John's
right,
and,
so
yeah.
it's going into that fund because the fund, you're saying the fund can afford it, and frankly, we want to be perceived to be doing that anyway. But we should still maintain, if you're gonna have a policy, you want to take the policy throughout all the funds and not change it. Because we used to have a situation where like 80% of your salary went into the water fund, which was absurd. So we changed it all, worked it all out. Why are we now changing it to a different way? We shouldn't be doing that. By the way, because it makes it difficult for
To understand.
for us to understand it. We're
Right.
actually now looking at that. And it would be helpful if the finance manager was here to tell us why.
But it shouldn't be zero transfers out in the water and wastewater fund. Because that overhead cost of yours.
Still should be.
Money being transferred out.
Piece of it's coming out.
Right.
Yeah. I know we're spending it all on capital, but we still need to figure out some reasonable.
Right, but you gotta show
Mechanism.
both, because at the end of the day, it's all a cost. And because we've got a big capital cost, it doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't show the employee cost. We should.
Yeah.
So you make note of that. Good.
Okay, anything else? Two and a half hours in.
So as you're the ones with the notes, do you want to recap so that we don't miss anything? Because we're only going to get one stab at this when it comes to the public hearing.
Well, we are headed through AI as well. That's gonna take, the actual full task list. How about if I
Does
send that to council?
Someone would like to see those two charts that this is now the second
With the
time
carry-
I asked for them. By not later than the meeting on the
The
24th.
balance, yeah.
I want to see the balance, the beginning balance, the pluses, the minuses, ending balance. Projected for next fiscal year for each and every fund.
Mhm.
And the second thing I want to see is the road reconstruction program. From this point forward, which year we're projecting to do each road. I would like to have those two charts not later than the 24th of August.
So can we also have the revised budget for these things? Maybe with
Yes.
a narrative that tells us what you've done, because I don't like just looking at figures, that figure and that figure, and trying to work out whether we completed the task that we've asked you to do. So if you can have that for the 24th, because the following meeting is too late, because that's then on the 7th of September. And so
It's the 9th of September, I believe.
no,
Wednesday?
I'm saying that the
regular
meetings after that. So that's the last chance we're gonna get to.
Regular meetings on the 14th.
Yeah, of September, but the first budget hearing's on the 9th.
Right.
So we've only got to the second one this month to figure this out, because realistically, what we want is to have a consensus that the budget is the budget, because when we get to the budget hearing, we just want to pass it. We do not want to be making
Yeah.
any more stuff, and then it should be 10 minutes and we're done.
Okay, so I will send the task list of all the points we talked about today to be implemented. I'll send that to all council. If anyone feels there was some ambiguity in what was said, we can clarify that. We'll get the 20-year road project updated, sent
Have that by the end of the week.
end of the week. And
I'll be here Friday, but
I will speak for Oscar and say that we should be able to get the updated budget by the end of next week, which is before your date of the 28th. Fair enough.
Is that when the next meeting is?
Well, the end of next week would be the 21st. Our next meeting would be the 24th. For the next regular meeting.
If we can. If we can also get Oscar to fix the finance report, so that's.
Yes, we need to put the budget to bed on the 24th.
Yeah,
It
we
has to
do.
be done.
And if there's any particular points that we need to
We've
hash out, we
we've
can
gone over them here.
review.
Yeah, as long as you fix that in, I mean, once it's put in there, it is easier to then, because every time you update it, I kind of look through it to make sure that everything looks good. I'll definitely want to do that again. So, and the only time I have to do that is over the weekend, so by the weekend before that meeting is the very, very latest. But it shouldn't take you long to do it. Just get it back to us.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on the budget that anybody can think about? John, you have anything? Morgan, you have something?
Yes, at the last budget hearing that we had, a few of the counselors asked me about the finger pier replacement program and how we were going to move forward. I did put a sheet in front of each and every one of you, kind of explaining what I would hope to do over the next coming years. Right now we have finger pier number 2, which is the one that was damaged by a tree. And that's being permitted and replaced. I did meet with Lake County Water Authority. And as I started assessing these, I went back again to this morning and walked that area. And what I'm proposing is to remove number 2 because it's getting replaced. Actually move it to the location of number 3, which is the concrete one that's starting to fall apart. Lake County Water Authority will help us remove that one free of charge. And remove number 4 because 2, 3, and 4 are really close together. And by moving and replacing number 3, that'll give us a better elevation and transition so we can put a sidewalk to it. And then not replacing 4, and that will bring the total number of piers down to 6. And then that way, next year, council's we got a replacement finger pier in the budget for next year. That will replace number 7. The only one left to do will be number 1. And somehow through the budget, if we can work out replacing number 1 next year, if not, it'll be the following year. And that should, all of them agree in the past 3 years will be completely replaced.
They'll be usable.
Yes, sir.
You talk about it in the next fiscal year or the next year after that?
Well, depending on how we can, if we see that towards the end of next fiscal year, which is 26, 27, that we may have the money, we have the money in the budget, like we did this past year. We had removed one, but we actually found the money. If we could replace it, whether using infrastructure funds or using park and rec funds, go ahead and replacing that number 1, and then that would complete all of them.
So you're saying 1, 2, and 5.
2 we're doing right now.
Squeeze the remaining ones in for next year.
Number 7 will be the one that's going to be replaced under the budget, this upcoming fiscal year budget. And then if we see towards
Just depends
the
how
later
much
part.
Valencia is going to cost.
Right. And if not, then we'll move that out to 27, 28.
Well, David will be gone there, so I can steal all his road money anyways.
No. I'm with Councilman Miles on that.
Just kidding, David.
But I just wanted to show you all that, and I give you a little blurb down at the bottom, kind of explaining everything, how we're gonna move from a total of 9 piers down to 6. And in the future, that'll reduce the maintenance cost on all the piers.
And 6 should be plenty.
And
For now, yes.
we actually walked the south side too, because Councilor Miles has asked me, do you see that we could put one maybe on the south side and add an additional pier down there? With the slopes coming off that hill, the only place there would be able to put one is closer down the boondocks, and we don't own that property. That's school board's property. So.
They own on that side also
Yeah.
from the road to the lake.
Oh,
Damn, so we could-
And well, we could probably pick it up with a, maintenance
we've
map,
been
because we've been maintaining it
I
for
know we have.
30 years. So,
that was all part of the old Howie.
Yeah, I thought it was just, I just thought it was west of the,
Yeah, Lake Shore.
I just wanted to bring that up while we were here and talking about budget and explain it to the council. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one other thing, sorry, not specifically for you, Morgan, but I just want to throw this out there. On the basis that we're moving potentially 150,000 to 200,000 of money out of the water and the wastewater fund, which is then going to go into the general fund, and based on the fact that we stored away 660,000 last year, that's going to put us a further carry forward figure without any other savings in the budget. Is there an appetite to reduce the millage rate by another quarter? It's cost about $70,000.
I don't think that's a good idea. We need to build up a little bit of a fund balance in the general fund for rainy day purposes before we go to doing that.
what would that take out?
70 grand.
And we'll have with this, we'll probably, with the 660 and the 120 would have 780.
Well, if you're counting the money that was added as net value from the previous year,
Well, the current closing
Says
balance,
661 transferred over.
yes, but
And
that,
now we're showing we'll have 120 to transfer over or
Hun-
transfer
somewhere
into the
between
general fund.
150 to 200.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, in that 680 that's gone into there, the balance, the fund balance at the end of July for the general fund is 1.9 million. Now we are using that as a cash cow in order to minimize the amount on the line of credit for the water. Well, at least we hopefully we are. But what I'm saying is that we have a much bigger war chest than you perhaps appreciate. And if you have all that, I don't think a quarter would be.
or for a totally
We-
different idea.
We still have some decisions to do. We've been kicking the can down the road the entire time I've been here on wastewater that are gonna be just as costly as the water thing. We just listened this past last night, to another way of doing it, but we haven't made any decisions to do it beyond the fact that we got 1,600 ERUs from the CDD, but we still have unmet needs in the future that we're going to have to address there.
Well, and for a totally novel idea, is there anything you'd like to do with recruitment and retention?
What instead of?
I just had, I had a question regarding that last night. Since those on-site systems would be new, is there any way you can use wastewater impact fees on them?
Well, I mean, we don't have anything in the wastewater impact fee fund.
Well, right now. we
But
don't.
if you're saying that the new homes that would be built would then subsidize the creation and implementation
do it?
into,
Why not?
I mean, you're
Why not?
expanding the system.
it's doing, expanding the system for the benefit of those people who are paying the impact fees.
It's a little,
Yeah, I mean, if they're already, they're getting expanded service from CDD because they found this added capacity. What else could you use the wastewater impact fees for?
Further expansion of the wastewater.
Well,
plant.
no, I get that, David, but
or expansion of the lines to take it down to 48, for example, or whichever. Well, or to 48 to
Or-
help those customers.
or on site.
Well, but then you're basically saying you're making home builder A.
I get it.
Yeah, it's on the darker
I like
shade
your
of
thinking.
the side of gray. It's a good question. I don't think it would pass the test, but it's something to think about.
I say we think about it.
Yeah,
I don't think that we should do that right now. I really don't. I
yeah.
think we should move with caution.
I think we should be in better fiscal shape before we get too aggressive on doing that. In other words, next year, when we're going through the budget process, we'll probably want to lower the millage rate even further.
Depends on what's going on.
Depends whether that amendment passes.
Yeah.
But
It
that's,
doesn't matter whether that amendment passes next year, year after that, year after that. It's going to be out there every year until it happens, period. So we can't let that specter paralyze us into basically doing nothing. The genie's out of the bottle, Graham. It's only a question of when it happens, not if it happens. It's gonna happen sometime.
that-
after
that-
the
that-
next-
There's a lot of
well, that,
pushback
it,
on
it,
that.
it can
Bill.
only happen, John, if they, well, there's not only that, but if they put it out there and it goes in this year, if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass with 60%. So they're not likely they might fudge it and then put it back on again in a different guise. What my concern is that we don't want to get paralyzed by the fact that it may happen, just like a pop crew done, where they've raised their millage rate by 10% in order to stave that situation off, that we have people who pay a lot of taxes in the town at the moment. And I think that we have to look at it from where we are at this particular moment in time. If reducing that millage rate costs us another 70,000 and we already have a large surplus at the end of the budget, then I think that we should give that back to them. I wanted to do a half point before, we did a quarter. I'm only asking the question. You know?
I'll support any decrease in the millage rate, because like you, we deserve, give it to people who are paying that money deserve to have as much of it come back to them as they can. So you wanna take it lower, let's take it lower. How low can you go?
Well, we got to be sensible about it. I think, I mean, the last time we took it from 7.5 to 6.9.
9.
So we took it half a mil last year, which was rollback.
More than rollback. It
Little.
And a couple years before that, we took it back a full mill.
was like, what was it high eights or was it low
I thought it
nines?
was up
It
in the.
was around 9 mils.
There was no millage decrease between 2015 and last year.
No, that's
No,
not.
that's
But
not,
we had huge millage numbers between 08.
no, that's not true,
That's
John.
not true. There
It's
was,
changed since I've been
When-
in the town.
when Martha was mayor,
Yeah.
she did a substantial millage
Yeah.
reduction
Yes.
about the time I
As
came
a-
on the
as-
council.
It
soon
went
as
from
came-
9.275 to 8.9 something, and then it went down to 7.5. So we moved it half mil last year. And even with moving it, we had a surplus last year. We're going to have a surplus this year. And therefore moving it half a mil.
And just to perspective, and of course you can ask her, she's no longer on council. It doesn't affect her politically. But I will say one thing that Martha said was that she regretted
She did.
lowering the
Did
millage.
say that.
Because she realized, it felt good, it looked good, everyone liked the idea. But then she looked at all the number of projects that need to be done. And if you're looking from the water tower to the lakefront, and I know, the last 4 or 5 years, we've accomplished a lot. But Martha said in hindsight, she regretted that.
Well,
So
that's
just
that's a
perspective.
choice in her perspective. I have a different one because I think that our millage rate is still, I think, the third highest in the
No, the
county.
second. It's the second.
Is it the second highest? Because
This is the highest. I think we were tied.
no, I think
Somebody-
Groveland are actually looking to put theirs up this year. I wanted to get under Astatula and they just pipped me. It just went slightly under where we were. I think it's at 6.5. I think is a good place for this town to be, and we can afford it. We have the reserves, we have the fund balance, and we can still do the projects. But at the end of the day, we have to consider that every single penny, whether it's in ad valorem or all of the other taxes we all come in from the residents of the town, and we should give them relief. And this is one of the reasons why they're doing this amendment, because what they're saying is, I'm not talking about us, but a lot of cities, they just take all this money and they find a way to waste it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And when
This-
and when you
this
put city
town-
Yeah, behind DeSantis.
This town does not waste a lot of money.
No, I've just said that, David. I just said
Right.
we don't. But if you think about it, I mean, the city manager in Groveland had a basic salary of $280,000, plus he had a car, a housing allowance, and his normal health, life, and all that. And guess what? Last January, they paid him a $60,000 retention bonus just so he'd stay in the town. That to me is just irresponsible. And we don't have that here. And because of what I would call our good stewardship of the money of this town, we are in a position to be able to lower the burden on the residents. And I still think that taking it to 6.49 or 6.5, we should do it this year because we can.
I agree. I'll back that.
We already had that argument and we voted to make it 6.74.
I voted for 6.5, then I'd do it again.
Well,
Yeah, now that we've got the numbers worked out better, yeah.
so on the basis of that, we have a straw poll. Where are you at with this, Renee? You still a nay?
6.74. I want to be
Yeah.
prudent. I'm just not with the 6 point.
John, you're at 6.5 or 6.49?
6.29.
Well, I'm not going that far, but this move would add another 70,000 or take 70,000 out of the revenue.
What do you say, take it down to 6.49?
That's what I'm recommending.
Or 6.5.
6.5. You'll take that number?
Yes.
Get Oscar to make the amendment in the budget then, please. You have a 3-2 straw poll. Why are you looking at me, Sean? I know you want to kill me, but
I think there's a lot
Because
that
he
is yet.
thinks that you are making an unwise decision.
no, I don't think he is. And what I think he's saying is if we have 70 grand to spare, they should pay more to the staff.
I think we have a major issue with recruitment and retention, and it's only going to get worse. And additionally, I think there are other capital projects ranging from the water tower to you name it, that we don't have all the funding that we feel we should have, and
Yeah.
taking down a whole $500,000.
How much have we spent replacing the dilapidated water pipes through the town, which we've had in our capital program?
We have only
For
done as
many
much as is related to a given piece of road with a given related road project or emergency
Right.
repair.
We probably have spent a grand total of less than 200,000
Oh,
in the last 5 years on water pipe replacement.
that's
And our water
probably worse.
pipes in the original part of town were put in place in the 1930s and 1940s. You know, we're talking about stuff that's approaching a century old.
hmm So again, and that's why I brought up Martha's reference, because, you know, she's generally considered to be a pretty decent mayor and a recent one, and one who brought down the millage considerably. And yet when she looked at what needed to be done and the after effects of her decisions, she second guessed herself. My professional opinion.
But then she also brought it down in total by 1.8 mils. And we're looking about half a mil. So we're not kind of the same situation.
Well, but we're
After-
cumulatively, we've brought it down a half a mil last year, plus that 1.8, that's 2.3. And this year we had already proposed 0.25, so that's 2.55 mils that we've reduced our millage rate
In a less than a 5-year
in
period.
less than a 5-year period.
And other thing that I'm thinking about as well is wonderful that we are lowering the millage rate. But we've got to think about it in the essence. I always believe in thinking about the future. And the council that is sitting now is not the council that will be sitting in the future, possibly, or some of us, or few of us. But the point that I'm making is that 2027, the next 2 years, is going to be a navigational year for Howey-in-the-Hills. And I do think that we should be prudent. I think that we should be wise. And I think that we need to think about what it's going to look like in the fourth quarter of this year, going into the first and second quarters of 2027. And for that reason is why I'm just not on board with lowering the millage rate any further.
I agree with you.
And then the next council, whomever they may be, they already have a hard way to go in the next 2 years. So when you think about, yeah, no, that's my point.
I'm sorry, the other thing that I would caution you on is this town is growing. I keep saying that over and over and over again. And yet, we're not growing the resources the town's gonna need to manage that growth.
That's right.
Well, you
That is
finished
good.
my sentence.
That is gonna be a problem.
You finished my sentence.
I-
We still got a lot going
understand
on.
That you don't want high taxes, but the business of a town is to provide services to the residents. And you can't provide services if you don't have the resources to do it. I caution you from, playing a mean game of hold my beer, let me see if I can go another half point.
That,
Cause I feel like that's what I'm watching right now.
yep,
But you may be doing yourself a huge disservice going forward.
thank you.
So are you saying that you believe growth, we're gonna be worse off?
I'm saying.
If we're
that
not ready for it,
if we're not
yes.
ready for it.
The town never planned to grow.
So
we-
with all of these developments that have been approved, you believe that it's gonna cost us way more in resources than what we're bringing in?
More than it does currently, absolutely.
Well, sure, it's obviously gonna do that.
Well, if it's obviously gonna do that, that's the point, is that we're not ramping up.
There's also a lead time
Yeah.
between when money comes in from growth and when you have the actual growth.
Mhm.
Just due to the fact of the way taxes are done. So,
And
Like
there's
when
a
growth
lead time
comes
to
in,
talent.
you're probably a year to 2 years out from ever seeing that as property taxes or anything like that, but that doesn't mean that you don't have the need to respond to the residents that are here.
And there's a lead time to talent as well. So, you
Well,
get a
that's
new
why-
police
that-
officer, that's a 6-month lead in. If you're lucky,
Well,
you
that's
don't
why we're
lose on the
sitting
way.
$2 million in the bank. And, the recommended is 16.67% of your expenditures that you're budgeting for as a reserve. We went last year to 38%. So, you can't just store it up. And the other thing is, I would tell you is this, because I did this back in 2019 or 2020 when I was made the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee of one, which was me, and I sent a report in to Martha about it because what was happening was they were artificially reducing the revenues that they had in the budget by huge amounts of money, like $250,000 on the 1 year that I looked at, so they could artificially keep the millage rate high. So when we were reducing the millage rate, we weren't really, we were simply doing the proper budgeting. And frankly, when we came in, and this was back when you were the finance manager and you were copied on this, Sean, and nothing happened to it until I became the mayor. And then we took that apart. The very first thing that we did, put everything in its right place so that we can actually look at these budgets
Everything's
now.
not in its right place. There are many alternatives as to the way you can structure things. Just because you worked in Astapula, it's a little tiny dinky town. Have you ever
Thanks.
worked in a decent sized place?
Why are you shouting at me, David?
I'm just
No,
bringing
you're raising your voice, and I'd appreciate
No.
it if you don't.
it because you irritate the heck out of me
No.
when you give me this.
You're just looking at because I took your transportation money. I'm simply saying
You're
that
the expert of the finance world. Other people that understand government finance.
like
And
yourself, is that what you're saying?
like myself.
Okay, so you were on the council for 2 years before me, so why didn't you fix all the things that I fixed? No,
It was I was
No.
one of 5 votes. I was not the.
So the
It didn't fix
230
anything.
budget amendments that we put through to put things right, you did not do. I did it, and that came to the council.
And Mayor Wells, I will say, so when I came on board, the forecasting was not great. And in the first year, I took us from 25% overage in expenditures to an 8% surplus. It may not have been in the correct line, and there are things you could argue are still not in the correct line. But the whole historic of overvaluing
I'm not sure that somebody's
revenues
still in the incorrect line. I think they're all in the right place.
Okay, well,
Anyway,
Saying-
we're getting off topic here.
Should we ask the public?
No, because we've already had public comment.
Okay.
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned at 3:54.
I'm going to be a good steward of return to pen. I have some. This is my favorite pen.